For some of you might not know this, but I actually have a 14-year-old son. His name is Isaac Wright. He's probably the greatest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. From the time that he was in his mom's belly, I'd remember that I'd love to rub it. It was something that I every night before, the only way she'd go to bed is I'd have to rub her belly. And it just felt something wonderful, because in 9 months she would just grow and grow and grow, and Isaac would kick and he would punch and he would drive his mother nuts, and and then and the funny story is Isaac was supposed to be a girl. So when my son came out, I held him like it was just, he really was like more like this. He was only about this big. He's just like little tiny little baby, and the nurses will never forget me, because I'd like raised him up in the air and was screaming like, I have a son. Being a parent is probably like the greatest thing you can ever do. You'll have your ups, you'll have your downs, you'll have terrible twos, teenagers, but this is a legacy that I'm gonna pass on. My son will live and I will live through my son. But to watch your child grow, to become, the teenager that my son is and the man he's gonna be one day, to become married, it's great. And it all becomes, you get to turn around and do something like my father did for me. 22 years in the Army. He was the greatest single parent I ever had in my life. He raised myself and my brother. You can't ask for something better than that. He gave me the gift to give to my son, to be a parent, to be a father, to be a mentor, to love something that's just, no matter what he does, he's always going to be my son.
I know this sounds crazy. Neither Matt or Jeff Hardy would drink or, do anything. And that was because our mother was like that. We didn't cuss for so long. It's actually so funny. You ask some of our younger friends, and even if you asked Shane Helms, who I've been friends with forever, at first, we would never curse around him, and it would freak him out. He thought we were weird because we wouldn't curse. There was only one actual word we would say, and I don't know why we thought it was okay, but like our dad would say it. We'd say, "Oh, that cocksucker," and obviously that's a bad word, but that would be the only curse word we would use. Everything else was off limits because our mom didn't curse.
That's what's so exciting about life, and I consider the second stage of life is when you do get to that point to where you're eventually able to be a dad and be a mom, to actually take on that responsibility of raising one of your own. So thanks to them, I have that chance to do that myself, and that's one day I look forward to, and that's what parents are all about, is to allow generations to continue.
I was shooting basketball that day with some of my friends, and my grandma, she was living with us, and she called my friend's mom and just said that my dad had been in an accident and I needed to come home. And I was shooting basketball, and I had a motorcycle that my dad had bought me that year, and it was something that he had paid on for months and months and months. And I'll never forget just jumping on my bike, just scared to death that something had happened to my dad. And I remember pulling up to the house, and I didn't even park my motorcycle, I just threw it down. And I just ran in, and my grandma had said that he was in a really bad car accident. She didn't know the details, but my mom was on her way to, the hospital to see what was going on. And, later to find out was, my dad was in really bad shape. He didn't even look like my dad. I walked in, it was almost like a monster. His head, just from the surgeries and the blood clots and things, it was probably 8 times bigger than, a normal human being's head. It was scary. I just remember going in and just looking, and I was going, that's not my dad. It looked like something that Hollywood had created. It didn't look like a human being laying in the bed, because he was on a respirator. He couldn't breathe on his own. He was in a coma. His head was swollen. It was just, for a 10 or 11-year-old kid to go in there and see this, it was just scary. It was a nightmare. Number one, it's your father. Number two, he didn't look like himself. And at that age, you're just not prepared for that. You're not prepared for that.
Our dad was our baseball coach growing up, and that was cool because, it's just, I guess, it's kind of cool. You just wonder what it'd be like to be another kid and where their dad's not the coach, because we grew up every year, dealing with that. And it just showed, I guess it showed a lot of passion and, commitment to what to baseball first and foremost. I think that was our number one sport. It was pretty cool, and I'm thankful he went out there and took the extra time away from his job to make time to actually coach us.
We lost our mom at a very early age, and he made sure, regardless of what he had going on in his life, that my brother and I had food in front of us, we had a shelter over our head, and we had clothes on our back, always, and he worked 2 jobs. He was a rural letter carrier, which is a mailman, and he also raised tobacco, which we worked in the back as well. And he brought us up hard, and he wasn't the kind of guy to say, I love you. We didn't get that from him. We would get that from our mom. But when she died, and it was earlier on in our life, like, we never got to that point where we could have adult conversations with her and really understand what I love you means in the terms of a relationship, especially like in the terms of a male-female relationship. So I think Jeff and I were, both a little shy when it came to dating and seeing girls and stuff in the beginning. And I think that was just kind of a direct effect from us losing our mother at a young age.
What I've learned from my parents to eventually be able to put in use to being a father as well, and being a parent as well, is just not much slack, growing up with nothing spoiled whatsoever, knowing when to do your chores, get your work done, and make sure you get it done, and just be an overall good kid and know your boundaries as far as like what to do and what not to do, and know when you're out of line, because we always knew when we were out of line, and we were taught that.
The first year he was in a coma for about almost a year. He was, we knew that he was. We didn't know the extent of it really. We knew that he was in a coma, but we didn't know the extent. Once he come out of the coma, if he did come out of the coma, they didn't know. Well, first of all, they just said that my dad wouldn't live 2 weeks. That was like, just you can count on your dad dying in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks led to a couple of months. Then the next thing you know, they're like, well, there might be a chance. My mom would come home and she would spend a couple of days at home with us, and then she was right back to take care of my dad, and we'd travel back and forth, just being there with my mom and my dad also. But he stayed there for about a year, and finally they brought him out of the coma. The Tom's Rehabilitation Center, they were able to bring him to, and whenever he came out of his coma, I remember my mom saying that he actually spoke clearly, like several words, and that was it. Now, even though he's going to be in the bed and he's paraplegic, he can't walk, he can't talk, he's still going to be there with us, and we were going to make the best of it. And that was our goal. Our goal was, we're fortunate enough to have him with us still, so we're going to take him home, and we're going to, that's our dad.